What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to review for you The Foundation Season 2, Episode 8, The Last Empress. I just finished watching this, and it will be up on Patreon, so this is the actual review for you guys on YouTube. Um, I'm not really sure I like this ending. Now, again, this episode was directed by a female, and with that comes a lot of female centering that happens in this. And it's not that far outside of the realm of understanding that this is what this show has been. If you've been watching any of the episodes of it, you understand that this is what the show is doing. It's centering a lot of females, it's gender swapped some characters, and created a bunch of other characters that never existed in the actual story to turn around and center them in positions of power throughout the show. And the ending of this show ends in a way that really takes a character that I liked and turns it, I wouldn't say necessarily on his head, but takes it in a different direction that is not necessarily, I don't know, fun, good, tough idea. Now, this episode picks up where the last one left off, where you're seeing that Salvor Hardin was captured by Tellum, and these people decided on the second foundation. And whereas I thought she was dead, she was just knocked out, which I knew she couldn't be dead because she's one of the main characters of this show. So you wake up to find that Gal is looking for Salvor, and she comes upon Tellum, and Tellum tells her, funny, exactly what the heck is going on. That Harry, the organic Harry, is dead, and Salvor is alive but captured, and that Tellum wants something from Gal, and she knows she's hiding it, and she's going to get that information because she's on a bit of a time crunch. Now, I just saw something else. The beginning of this episode starts with the attendant Rue from the Cloud Dominion sneaking into Demerzel's quarters and looking around Demerzel's quarters. Now, how the hell she got in here, I do not know. Even as they say in the episode, she knows about the servants' entrances. I don't know how she got into the servants' entrances. I really don't. Now, while she's in Demerzel's room, because they have recently found out that Demerzel is actually a robot and not an actual person, which I don't know, anybody living long enough could have figured that shit out because she's always there and always has been there. I don't know what she's looking for specifically. But she is snooping around and is interrupted by Brother Dusk. And although Brother Dusk comes in and catches her in the act looking through Demerzel's private quarters, discovers that she has some tech that she should not have, he is still kind of, in love with her and kissing on her and stuff like that, to come to find out that she never lost her memories. And she again baits this dude with the idea that there are things he cannot remember, and tells him that in the Cloud Dominion, they found a way to reverse Imperial erasure, to bring back those memories that were supposedly erased or blocked out. And through her questioning and working of Brother Dusk, Dusk realized he has a gap or a block in his mind about who Demerzel is, and that he can only repeat one phrase over and over again. She is always here and she will always be here. All right. Now, this troubles him because Rue and Queen Seraph have been working on Brothers Dusk and Brother Dawn about them not having all of their memories. Now, why two people, I mean, at least in Dusk's case, being as smart as he should be, as long lived as he has been, doesn't understand this type of manipulation is beyond fucking me. It is beyond me. But needless to say, they already understand and have the wherewithal to understand that their memories have been erased before. They have been altered, and they don't remember things. So while in Demerzel's quarters, Brother Dusk and Rue have this conversation, and he realizes something is missing from him. Right? There's some reason he can't remember what it is, and it's putting more spotlight on Demerzel not being human, being a robot, being the last of the robots. And you get a little bit of interest in history from Isaac Asimov's other books about the war between human beings and robots and the three rules of robotics. And you realize something is a little bit off. Now, from there, you go to Ignis real quick, and this is where you get Gal and Tellum having their conversation, and you find out that Tellum has actually captured Gal and has her in an underground prison with these discs in the ceiling that modulate to throw off her brain patterns to not make her able to use her powers. Now, all of this so far is off book. None of this shit is in the books at all. None of it. This is all stuff that's made up. Some of it is interesting. More of it is just more girl bossiness. Okay? They do what the hell they want to. Nobody can check them. And all the dudes are hapless asses who just follow their lead or get duped because of vagina. Now, while Tellum is telling Gail that she's run out of time, she needs this information from him, we switch over and find that Salvor is actually in one of these prisons as well. That Salvor did not die. She is in fact alive and trapped in this prison. And one of the little kids from the Second Foundation, who are loosely the Second Foundation, I don't even like calling them that, the sighted people, as they're named, checks in on her and lets her know what goings on are going on. Now, back on Trantor, Brother Day is going to execute Polly Verisov and Brother Constance for coming from the Foundation and trying to be envoys and brokering peace. Now, this little power move that he's playing is going to be streamed throughout the Empire so everyone can see it, so that the people on Terminus can see it, and let them know what a fool's errand they sent these people on. And on Terminus, you see Brother Constance's father and some of the other people, the Thespins and Acronyms there, watching the stream and just stressing a little bit because they're seeing two of their own be executed by Empire right there. Now, this little bit of planet hopping that we're jumping between Terminus, Trantor, and Ignis makes the start of the episode kind of hard to follow, in a sense. And I keep thinking about this when it comes time to review the Foundation. What makes it so difficult for me to review this, because you're constantly switching between 3 or 4 different spots throughout the whole episode. Now, the episode may only be an hour, so in an hour's time, you jump between 3 to 4 locations. Piece of story, next spot. Piece of story, next spot. And it's something about the way they do it that doesn't really work. It doesn't. because even on a show like Game of Thrones, I had no problems remembering what was going on, even though they jumped between different locations and groups of people. With this show, it's not like that. It makes it kind of confusing. Like, what the hell? Where are we now? What's going on? Why do we care? Just a weird thing, especially if I'm doing it late in the evening. It makes it a little harder. So, be that as it may, the three setups are what's happening on Terminus, which is them watching the execution, what's happening on Ignis, which is basically Gal and Salvor being held prisoner until Tellum decides she's just going to forcibly remove information that she needs to find the Prime Radiant from Gal's mind. And then back on Trantor, you have what's going on with Brother Dusk figuring out more about the mystery of Demerzel, and what's going on with Brother Day in terms of he's going to execute these damn people from the Foundation, these clerics, to prove a point. Now, while Brother Day is doing this whole execution thing, and he calls for Queen Seraph, or his intended Queen Seraph, to touch his hand, everybody in the crowd goes wild. But he gives a really good speech about what is going on with the Foundation and the people on Terminus. How it was supposed to be an exile. It was supposed to be like a punishment. But it ended up that they came back and wanted to actually fight and wanted to actually spit in the faces of the Imperium, and they're not going to have that. They're going to go to some old school oldies but goodies and do a little bit of beheading with a technological bent on it, which actually looks kind of cool. Halo with the camera shutter in it. Yeah, that'll do it. Thought it was pretty interesting. But what ends up happening is there's a choice between, is it going to be Poly Verisov or is it going to be Brother Constance that is going to be executed first? And Brother Day asked for Queen Seraph to make the choice. Now, while she's kind of attractive, I'm not liking this actress's posture. I don't like her posture or her bony ass back. This shit is bothering the fuck out of me. She always got this goofy ass look on her face, like she's trying to hold a horse's mouth back or something like that. I don't know. She's attractive, but some of the times it just bothers me because she just kind of lurching along and shit. So either way, she makes a look at him and doesn't actually answer. And Day takes that as her weakness and decides to make a choice himself. And he decides to go after Brother Constance first, which I thought was a switch. I thought the old man was going to get it first anyway, because this is a very women-centric show. So the fact that they put the guillotine collar on her kind of told you that she wasn't going to die. Now, there was a chance that she could die, because I know this actress. I've seen her in some other stuff. She could survive, or they could kill her off and she could just be off the show. But given how it's working, maybe not. Now, before anything can happen, the inevitable happens that a ship shows up and interrupts the countdown to cutting Brother Constance's head off. And the ship that shows up is the Spirit, the whisper ship of the Foundation, carrying Huber Mallow. And he shows up in grand fashion, knocking Empire, Brother Day, Brother Dust, Queen Seraph, Demerzel, everybody all over the place, and shows up to rescue Brother Constance and Polly. Now, during this little endeavor, you see that Brother Day is protected by Demerzel, holding him down, that his aura has been damaged, and he has basically no protection right now. Some of the other people on the platform, Brothers Dusk and Brother Day, they go after to check on the women folk, the potential Queen Seraph and the attendant, to see if they're okay, because that's where their feelings and their hearts are now with these two chicks that just showed up. I don't know, maybe a month ago. They all nose open about these two little bony chicks that showed up to the empire like they ain't never seen a chick before. Either way, that's what they're doing. Now, while Huber Mallow is sneaking around amidst all this chaos and finds Brother Constance with the shutter halfway closed on her neck, but not dead, not bleeding to death out the neck, he is able to rescue her, but is unable to retrieve Polly Verisov, which is captured by Imperial guards. Now, part of this fight leads to seeing something in Brother Dave that you don't usually see, which is fear. He's scared. And the reason he is scared without his aura is Becky shows up. And Becky is one of these creatures that Brother Constance had befriended on the planet that she was on with Polly. And I forget the name of the creature, but it's a terrifying fucking beast that she can mount and ride and it can fly and stuff like that, right? Terrifying. It chases down Brother Day and he's scared. It attacks him. We got a little bit of Mandalorian season 1 vibes with the Mudhorn. You get a little bit of trample. You get a little bit of bitey going on, but is eventually saved and Becky is killed by Imperial guards. Different empire. And Huber Mallow, in this chaos, and Brother Constance are able to escape on the Whisper ship and head back to Terminus. Now, in the aftermath of their escape, Brother Day and Dusk and Dawn and Queen Seraph, Demerzel, Rue, they all end up in the throne room, and there is a bit of an argument happening between Brothers Dusk and Brother Day. And Brother Dusk calls for war immediately, that it should be war. And Brother Day does not agree. He doesn't. Now, Dawn is of the state of mind that he just wants Queen Seraph to be safe. He doesn't know what to do. But Brother Day takes the stand to go against his brothers and everyone else, that he is going to talk with the Foundation. He is going to get on a ship and go out to Terminus to talk with them. Not go to war with them immediately, but talk with them first. The other brothers think this is a stupid plan. Demerzel does not think it's actually a wise course of action. But Queen Seraph actually backs up Brother Day and shows some mock capitulation to kissing him and telling him that she stands behind him and all the rest of the stuff, and amping him up and sticking a battery in his back to take his ass out there to Terminus to deal with these people in the Foundation directly, against the advising of Demerzel, Brother Dusk, and Brother Day. He tells them to stay there. He leaves Brother Dawn in charge, and he and Demerzel go to the ship to head out to Terminus. In this aftermath, you get Queen Seraph and Rue having a conversation, which Rue is telling Seraph that she is playing this too big, that the Cleons are splintering, they're fragmenting, and what she's doing is dangerous. And it's dangerous because if Brother Day figures out what she is doing, which he should already be able to, if he figures out what she's doing with playing him and then playing Brother Dawn at the same time to try to get her pregnant and have Brother Day raising it like it's his child, yeah, that kind of shit, that he will take retribution on the whole planet, on the whole Cloud Dominion. It won't be just, oh, you did something fucked up to me. It will be everybody perishes and pays for that slight. And what happens is that Queen Seraph actually checks Rue and reminds her that she is the queen and puts her back in her place. That it is not her who will tell her what to do. It is Seraph who will tell Rue what she's going to do. And Rue will follow along. Right? So that in a little effect bridges all these separate segments that have happened together. Now, it's not necessarily important that Brother Day does go out to Terminus or heads out to Terminus, but you know it's going to happen. You know what's going on. You know what's going to happen. The rest of the stuff on Ignis with Salvor and Gale is Salvor figuring out that from some of the stuff that Organic Harry had told her before he was killed, she has the Prime Radiant. It's in her coat. It was given to her. She didn't know what it was. The fact that it looked like the Prime Radiant to me, same structure, even though it wasn't shaped the same way, should have been an easy fucking tell. But she still had it. So she remembers what Organic Harry was telling her, that the Prime Radiant exists in two spots at the same time. That the vault and the Prime Radiant are actually connected quantumly. So she opens the Prime Radiant and looks into the vault to see AI Harry that's in the vault on Terminus and actually interacts and talks with him. Now, all of this is still off book. All of it. This whole episode is off book. This is nothing really in the book. There are small pieces that pull on books. One of them is not even from any of these Foundation books. It's from a separate book, which they need to be paying for. But it's all off book completely. Now, the conversation between Salvor and Harry, or AI Harry, is such that she tries to give him information, but he doesn't want too much information because he figures out why he was kept in the dark about there being a second Foundation. Now, this scene is kind of funny with this actor and this AI Selden going through the thought process of answering his own questions on why he wouldn't know about something like this, why he would not be told by something like this, and figuring out that it's not to his benefit to know because it does, his knowledge throws off the math. But through a conversation with Salvor and what's going on with Gale and the people, the sighted people, he figures out that he can look out of the Prime Radiant where Salvor is from the vault and devises a way that she can actually escape the prison that she is in that has the same disc in the ceiling, muting out her fledgling powers, as it were. Now, some of the other stuff that happens on Terminus is not that important, but what it is you see Constance's father having a crisis because he doesn't know if his daughter's alive or dead. He knows that the execution was attacked. The person who attacked the execution was Huber Mallow, but the stream cut off after that. They don't know if she's alive. They don't know if she's dead. But there was a moment there when she was saying her last prayer during her execution that her father was actually turning into a believer and repeating the mantra that she was saying from the priesthood or the cleric, whatever you want to call it, from the religion, that everybody was. They were united in a moment, repeating the same litany from the religion. Now, that's all well and good, but it's not really anything. There's an interesting scene with him and AI Seldon from the vault, but it's more about understanding the Prime Radiant and giving this man some comfort, in a sense, than driving the story forward at all. Because what you find out before this is that Huber Mallow and Brother Constance have returned to Terminus, but they're outside of the planet and have shut down their system because the planet is now blockaded by Imperials. So, as to not arouse suspicion, they shut everything down and they're just dead in space, basically. And Brother Constance's brilliant idea during all this time is they need to have sex. Her and Huber Mallow need to have sex, like right now. Now, this scene to me was stupid. Now, while I will not mind seeing this actress kind of in the buck just to see how she's all put together, because she seems like she's put together pretty nice, this is absolutely fucking pointless to this episode. It is a dumb scene that didn't need to happen at this time. In the midst of a lot of intellectual information dumps, now you get a scene that, oh, we're gonna have sex right now. Like, fucking hell, dude. What? Okay, you can't do an episode without it. Fine, fuck it, whatever. Now you don't see anything, thankfully, because we didn't have time for that, and that was just pointless. But you do get to see them rolling around, feet to face the next moment, scene under a tarp or some shit, grinning and kissing. Like, okay, whatever, fuck. And then you do have the obligatory, well, you can't see her, but you can see all his ass. You can see him trying to get this wine, to drink this wine in celebration or whatever. And they are now caught by what I believe is the Vigilance or the Resolute. The Captain Dale, whatever his damn name is, I forget, who tried to capture them with the spacers. He has found their ship and he has taken them aboard, and Huber Mallow is caught butt naked with a glass of wine between his legs in the searchlights of a ship. Oh well. Now, the other part to this episode, the last part with the sighted, is interesting. I kind of figured out what was happening a little bit before it happened, when the young child was telling Salvor about what's going on with Gail and that it's a great honor she's being taken to the table. And this resonated a little different for me because I had an inclination of what was going on. And sure enough, by the time we get to this scene, that you find out that Tellum has developed the ability to jump bodies. As a telepath, she is able to jump into other people's bodies and take them over and take on that body and wear it, her consciousness wearing that body until it gets old and sick and she can't use it anymore. And then she has to discard it and jump into another body. Now, earlier in the episode, I sensed this and I said that Tellum was probably going to turn out to be the damn mule. That's why the mule is so powerful and comes out of nowhere in the future, and why he looks for Huber Mallow, because the mule would not, in fact, be its own person. It would just be Tellum, which the way they spell it, you can get mule out of that. Jumping body to body, being really pissed off. That's why he's out trying to destroy the universe and the second foundation and everything. And sure enough, when you get down to the scene, you find out Tellum is telling Gal that this is her second incarnation. That she was visited as a god before at her village where she came from. And she was bored and lonely because they just put her on a crystal pyramid. And when she realized she was getting old, she figured out that she could jump into another person's consciousness completely and take that body on and stifle out the original consciousness to the point that she never heard it. It was just gone. And she was in the body, and she could wear that body for several decades, like 60, 70 years, until it got old. And then it was time for her to jump bodies again. This is what's going on with Tellum and why she is so adamant about figuring out where this prime radiant and everything else is, and why she is rushed on a quicker timetable, because the body she has right now is old and it's dying. She needs to jump bodies. Now, this is a complete ripoff to me, a complete ripoff of Octavia Butler's book, Wild Seed, and the character of Duro. And I don't like that shit at all. Now, Duro in Wild Seed and Pattern Master, Mind of My Mind, and a whole bunch of other series of books is another literary character that you should know. This is not the first time he's been stolen, in a sense, because they use the same idea with the Shadow King and X-Men. The idea comes from a black woman, Octavia Butler, one of my favorite authors, sci-fi author. And they have now grafted it into this story of what's supposed to be based on Isaac Asimov stuff, and they just put it into this character, Tellum. And what Duro was a mind spirit. And way back in ancient Egypt, he realized he had the power to jump bodies. He would jump bodies and use them as sustenance until the body ran out or got sick or whatever, and then he would have to jump another body. And he did this for millennia. Thousands of years he did this. If he jumped into bodies who had powers and abilities, he could last a lot longer. And he did it with children, with adults, family members. It didn't matter. That was one of the things that made the character so interesting, because the more he did that, the less human he felt. And it was a compulsion. Sometimes he couldn't even stop it. But it was also his threat to people, to let them know that if you keep testing me, I will take you. And it was a credible threat. He would be them, he could sire children and everything else. But his loneliness was that there was never anybody like him. He was the only one. Now, them taking this idea and putting it into this Tellum character who is a telepath, and every time she jumps bodies, she gets stronger, only pissed me off watching this episode. I said, man, this is fucking ripping off Duro. And the only reason I'm pissed off is because I've read both of these damn books. I know they're completely off the foundation right now. And I know they're pulling from another line of books I really love, another series I really love. This is typical fucking Goyer. This is typical modern Hollywood right now. These motherfuckers are not creative. They constantly keep taking from better work to throw into their shit and not even doing it good. So, be that as it may, Gale is now laid down on his table, and what Tellum is going to do is transfer her consciousness into Gale's body. And then she's going to continue to run the sighted. And then she's going to have the information that Gale doesn't want to give her about this prime radiant, like she can fucking use the thing anyway. Like she understands the math. She doesn't even want to follow it, so it's pointless for her to want it. So this is where this episode kind of adjourns. Salvor gets out of her prison by rigging up the devices to act like a sonic emitter, breaking the rocks so she can get out. And then we shift back to Terminus, to Brother Dusk and Brother Day and what they're dealing with Queen Seraph and Rue, the attendant, while Brother Dawn or Brother Day is off heading to Terminus. And what you find out is that, number one, Brother Dawn agrees to meet with Seraph again, Queen Seraph again, in the heat sinks. And he agrees to go through the procedure to reverse his, I wouldn't call it a castration, but their induced ability to not procreate children, right? He reverses it. So now he can actually shoot sperm and get Queen Seraph pregnant with their child. And he does this for her and has sex with her immediately to impregnate her. So they can pretend like his brother Dawn's, Brother Day's child later on. Now, this, to me, this made Brother Dawn look like such a fucking beta male orbiter. It is absolutely ridiculous that this motherfucker would be emperor one day. Absolutely ridiculous. He sits there, lays with his brother's woman, and then talks about possibly killing his brother because I can't see him raising our child. You weak bitch. Are you fucking kidding me? You're clones. You're the same person. This is bothering me because these guys are acting dumb as fuck right now. I can see it out of Brother Dawn because he's new. But you switch over to Brother Dusk and him realizing some things have not been right, have been held from him, and looking at the little pigment portraits that each Brother Dusk does, and noticing some things are not working right, and confiding in Attendant Rue about it, and they find a secret chamber and go off into the secret chamber through the painting, and he doesn't know what this is and what it's not. And all of this is in service of trying to find out what the hell is going on with Demerzel. Like he hasn't been living around this person his whole fucking life. He gets in there with Rue. They get to a chamber and they're putting all this together, and they find out that the chamber itself was supposed to be a prison initially. And they're met by, I guess, an AI representation of Cleon the First. And he addresses the Cleon that he's talking to. And what Brother Dusk and Rue figure out in this is that Demerzel is the only actual heir to Cleon the First. That Demerzel is actually the last empress, the eternal empress, because she presides over the three brothers, Day, Dawn, Day, and Dusk. That she is the one thing that's constant and works through them and actually has the power forever. Because she only follows Cleon the First orders, not really theirs. She acts to preserve empire. And preserving empire means she got to deal with these three fucking chuckleheads forever and keep them on the straight and narrow so empire can continue. So if that means, like you're seeing this season, she got to fuck one of them, then she's just going to have to fuck one of them. Now, this is the part that had me taken aback after I finished the episode, whereas If you've read the books, you understand, number one, Demerzel was a man. A male. Not a man, just a male. And yes, he had been there working in with the Cleons for a while, but that whole genetic dynasty thing didn't exist. Now, while it's interesting in this show to have 3 clones at the same time ruling, but only the one that's middle-aged, the actual ruler at that time, is an interesting concept. Switching Demerzel to be a female was pissing me off, but it is kind of an interesting concept until they made this robot start fucking a guy. And him being impotent with real women because he's been having his little sex bot time. Now, them throwing this further curveball into it to say that, no, she's actually the Empress because she runs Empire through these 3. Yeah, you could have said that when you figured out the fact, first season, when you figure out the fact that 1, she is a robot, and 2, she basically raises each one of the Cleons the whole time, and she's always there. Every Cleon knows her because she's always been there. So yes, the only true power is the power that doesn't change, which is the power behind the throne. Not on it, behind it. Okay, that's a given. So making this grand statement of, oh, she's the eternal Empress. So fucking what? She don't want it. She doesn't actually want the power. She's a robot. She don't give a shit about that. She's secure in the genetic dynasty and doing whatever she has to do to make sure that these 3 chuckleheads keep going forward in time. And Empire continues to be strong. But throwing this, oh, she's the emperor thing, just devalues them and puts her into a position that she's the one in charge, the ultimate girl boss. And this is what you get with a female director. Now, while there was some interesting beats in this episode, a little bit more action, a little bit more sped up storytelling, I'm still like, what the fuck, dude? What? We are so far from this being the foundation. I don't even know why they keep using that title. I really don't. I'm still of the mind, like BGS and I has talked about in the first season, you could have just called this Trantor, and all of this would have been fine. It all would have been fine. You could have not called it the foundation at all, because none of this is on book for the foundation right now. Now, while Gail getting her mind pushed to the back and being so important that Tellum needs to jump into her head, well, you already saw the future vision that Gail saw, so you know that's not going to work. But you also know that the mule kind of pissed at Gail. So it would stand to reason that Tellum ends up being the mule, which just fucks up the mule character from the book. It puts, this whole series has been putting way too much importance on Gail Dornick. She was not that damn important. One character came in and left, just like a lot of the other characters, like Salvor comes in and left, but the Salvor Hardin in this story is not the Salvor Hardin from the books anyway. Gender swap, completely different backstory, completely different mission. So none of this shit is on book. Is it interesting sci-fi wise? Yeah, I was into it for a little bit, like, what the hell is going to go on? But I'm asking what the hell is going to go on because none of this is tied to the source material. Just name tags being thrown on shit when it has no resemblance to what the name tag actually means. So, with that, a little long on this one, but did I like the episode? I was entertained for a little while. Can't say that I liked it. I was just entertained. Like I told you, watching this show has been interesting because if I just look at it as sci-fi, I can probably enjoy it. When I realize I've read these books and this is not in the book, it irritates me. It irritates me a lot. And now it looks like they're pulling on another one of my favorite book series, which I'm really not okay with that shit. That is not cool at all. It's bad enough they bastardize one great writer's work. They're going to pull in another writer and not even give credit? Fuck you. Fuck you completely. So that's it. That is my review of Foundation Season 2, Episode 8, The Last Empress. It didn't end the way I thought it was, which was with Queen Seraph dying, which I would have been fine with because I'm sick of this courtesan, manipulative female. I will play on the wiles of men shit. I'm sick of that shit. That's dumb as fuck because it's making these characters, all three of these male characters, the most idiotic group of fucking clone emperors ever. Ever. Just fucking weak sauce. They don't understand anything. So I'm not liking that. But otherwise, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here with that. Yeah. So I guess next week we'll have episode 9 and we'll be coming to the close for this season because I believe they only do 10 episodes. So we got 2 more and then we're out of this season. Thankfully. So we'll see how it wraps up from here. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been artisanmc, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.